Uh, Good morning. I guess I'm doing the opening. Welcome to episode 285 of Hobby Hotline. I am joined by a couple people you may know, Adam and Mikey. Are we really going with Mikey all day?
Something different.
All right. I'm going to call you Mickey.
Mickey. All right.
So the three of us together could not possibly do a show without talking some vintage, some Hall of Fame. So I thought might as well hit that up right away. We got some good mornings. I think this is a common theme today. Nebraska, negative 12 degrees. Let's hear it from all over. There we go. 24 days until spring training. Right, Mike?
Amen to that.
Yeah. Adam, you know this guy?
Double D. What's up, Dylan?
It's like 2 a.m. in Hawaii, so I can't believe
it's up early for the show.
Yeah.
He's the man. Sorry, Mike. Go Pack, go. Yeah.
Too soon.
Billy Joe, good morning, gents. Hodges, good morning. Mike looks like he's in the outhouse at the ranch.
It's actually not far from the truth. I'm at a hotel in Hico, Texas. Anybody watching, go Google map that. Hico, Texas. HICO is where I'm at today. So
population
never let it be said that I will not, drop everything to be on Hobby Hotline.
We appreciate the time we get with you. Dylan in Hawaii says it's 74 degrees. Dylan, I think we all have some things in our mind that we'd like to say that are not family friendly, but congratulations. Stooks, -6 in sunny Minnesota. Wow.
Damn.
It's a cold one today. I can't believe we're opening with the weather. We'll do news and traffic on the 7th. So let's talk about the Hall of Fame. And I don't know if you guys are familiar or if everybody's familiar with Ryan Thibodeau, and he does the Hall of Fame tracker. And I wanted to just throw that up on the screen real quick. And it's about half the votes that are in so far and kind of where they're tracking. And one of the things that blows me away here is Joe Mauer at 84%. Adrian Beltre, I mean, he's at 99% for all intents and purposes. I don't think that's a huge surprise. But Mauer and Helton and Billy Wagner being the next three, Mike, what do you think?
I still think we're going to have a class of these four guys. But you got to remember that traditionally, historically, what comes out beforehand usually drops. Although that's not. Yep. Last year, there were a couple of guys that went up, like Omar Vizquel. Pre-vote or public vote was at a certain percent. He went up like 15% in the, when you include all private votes. But traditionally, guys drop 3 to 5%, sometimes a little more. So that would bode well for these four guys getting in. The Mauer second, so I thought it would be Beltre, Helton, Wagner, Mauer. Mauer's on his first ballot. Mauer doesn't feel like a first ballot guy to me, although I think that's pretty. You can make a case that's the lamest argument ever. Like if they're a Hall of Famer, they're a Hall of Famer. But I like the four. Adam, what do you think about the balloting so far?
I mean, Adrian Beltre for sure. I mean, no question, he's a Hall of Famer. But 98.9%. That's pretty good percentage, right? I mean, look at some of the all-time greats that didn't even get that much. I think, right?
It took Joe DiMaggio 4 votes to get in. I mean,
right?
What did that tell you?
Yeah. But they're all worthy, definitely. I look at this list and from a different perspective. I see guys, it just kind of makes me sad when I see Manny Ramirez, A-Rod, when I see that 35, 39%. I mean, I know why, obviously, but I haven't watched those guys. I mean, they were so good. It's just sad when I see that. Really, that's the first thing that comes to mind when I look at the list.
Adam, what do you think of Gary Sheffield? Hall of Famer?
Yeah, for sure.
He's
Yeah,
just
over 500 home runs. I just remember watching, like, when he was on the Yankees and I was rooting for the Red Sox. I didn't want him to come to bat. That guy, I was scared to death of that guy coming up. So I think he's for sure a Hall of Famer. He didn't have any PED stuff, right?
I thought
Yeah,
he
he
was
did.
named in the Mitchell report. Am I wrong about
Balco.
that? Balco.
He was with
Yeah.
He was? Okay.
Well,
But I thought it was. I mean, not that there's levels of. I thought he was on the lesser end of guilty.
yeah. Sheffield had such a violent swing. Like, it was just insane. He was so good. I actually, on my ballot that I did, if I had a vote, I voted for 8 guys. The 4 guys in green that you see there: Manny Ramirez, A-Rod, Sheffield. I can't see it well enough to tell you who my 8th guy was off the top of my head.
Andrew Jones.
Nope, I don't. I'm
Carlos
not.
Beltran.
Yes, Carlos Beltran.
Okay.
Yes. I think the trash can thing is blown way out of proportion compared to his entire career. You're going to just one incident like that just drives me nuts when people do that.
I got to see Andrew Jones play in person when I worked for the Braves. When he played and when he came up, you thought you were looking at a Hall of Famer. Not that I mean, I know that's an old school way to approach it, but I really, felt like you were watching one of the greatest, defensively, offensively, what he did as a center fielder.
If Jones got in, I would not be upset.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think, and I get what that last comment was about. If Shoeless Joe Jackson isn't in, yada yada. But I mean, I think most, if you had a public vote, Pete Rose would get in.
Sure.
Joe Jackson would get in. I think all the Royd guys would get in, and I think it's a minority that are now still letting all that crap matter. They play baseball. Again, I'm the belief of, if you can't prove that, who can you prove that didn't use steroids? Show me that. Prove they didn't. Did Griffey use? No, probably not, but I can't prove it. Did Jeter use? No, probably not, but I mean, it was an era of baseball that I'm not willing to just sweep under the rug. I've said that multiple times, and I'm going to recognize the players that stood out in that era of baseball. Bonds, A-Rod. I mean, take 20% of their stats away, they're still Hall of Famer. Whatever the juice added to their inflated numbers, and I agree they're inflated, but it's, you still have to hit the baseball. You still have to pitch.
Adam, where do you fall on the steroid guys, in or out? Because I'm on the fence, and I think I've been evolving over the years to more of Mike's perspective of put the best in, because we don't know. Going back to, somebody made a comment about back in the day, Shoeless Joe's era, they were cheating on and off the field. There was greenies, in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Where do you fall on whether or not these guys are Hall of Famers?
Put them in, baby. I mean, I'm the opposite. I see Dylan says keep the steroids out. I say put them in. I want all those guys in, just from a historical perspective. I mean, I was talking with you guys before we jumped on here. I got daughters 3 and 4 that I'll bore them with all my baseball knowledge someday, and I'm not gonna talk to them about Adrian Beltre. I don't have any stories about, no offense, Joe Mauer. I remember watching A-Rod and Manny and Bonds and Clemens and all those guys, and I would like them to be in the Hall of Fame, and I just think they should be in. I get the other point, but I'm on the other side. I want them all in, definitely, and I think it would be good for the hobby too. So from that,
bring up a point. I think you bring up a great point, Danny, about for the history of baseball, there have been players trying to gain a competitive advantage in any number of ways, from banging trash cans to taking drugs to, putting spit on a ball or
They claim that Bobby
KYW or
Thompson's home
whatever.
run was signaled the pitch.
Yes. I mean, good grief. To me, you always want to gain a competitive advantage if you can, if it's league. I'm all for, I think steroids should be out of the game now because they've been, there's testing, there's ways to I'd rather it not be there, but at the same time, this isn't new. And the fact that these guys are being held to a standard that the rest of baseball history is not being held to feels unfair.
I'm going to also give a different perspective. If we're talking about competitive advantages, what would give you better statistics? Leaving out the entire Negro League population and putting up statistics only against, half of the population, or steroids? And I'm going to argue that, everybody pre-integration, pre-Jackie Robinson has inflated numbers. And so I think
Dr. Page would have struck them all out, or whatever.
That's my point.
Yeah, it's again, look at each. I'm a big believer in looking at eras independently. There's things going on in each era. The game has evolved. The game has changed. Again, are we going to evaluate starting pitchers today, the same way we did Cy Young and Walter Johnson and Christy Mathewson? No, it's a different game. You're not going to expect them to reach those lofty counting stats, and milestone numbers in their career. You're going to accept a lower number as greatness because of the way the game has changed. And so if you just independently look at eras and say, who were the best players in this era, with the steroid era being one of them, McGuire should be in, Sosa should be in. Again, if I had to vote,
I disagree on Sosa as a player, even with the steroids. I think a couple good seasons. He had a lot of very mediocre years, but I just want to cut you off and say that.
No, I appreciate the cutoff. Sosa had more than just a couple of good seasons. He had 360 home run seasons, most ever. What about McGuire? Would you vote in McGuire?
I think McGuire had a better overall career by far.
What about Canseco?
I don't think he had the overall career. I think home runs only. There's been guys in history. I mean, Dave Kingman. There's been power guys that are not Hall of Famers.
Okay, that's fair. Canseco's a Hall of Famer to me, actually, based on his career and the things he did and the way he changed. He was a power hitter with speed that was he came in a time, Bash Brothers, if we were around, we remember that very vividly. And I remember Canseco being he turned into a journeyman, right? But I don't know.
Young Canseco, and John points this out, Canseco also had legs. Before he got too big to run, like you said, Mike, that 40-40 season was kind of sick. I mean, that was unheard of at the time. But
MVP. I'm probably on an island on this, and that's okay.
I'm fighting internally between the guys that I think are so dirty and so crooked versus the regular dirty and the regular crooked. And I know it's not right, but I feel torn. Something about Canseco to me feels dirtier than Gary Sheffield.
If I gave you a gallon of water and I put one drop of piss in it, you're not going to drink it. You're going to consider it all contaminated. It doesn't matter. To me, again, it was so prevalent. Were there guys that didn't use? Of course there were, no question. Show me who they were, Brady Anderson, your favorite, Danny.
Not a Hall of Famer?
No, certainly not. But Ken Caminiti, not a Hall of Famer.
1 year.
Yeah.
Ruben asks, do you feel that Boog Powell is a Hall of Famer? Great name from the past. Boog Powell was a first baseman, came up as a left fielder with the Orioles, dominated for about a 5 to 7 year period. He finished, I think, second in MVP. I think he might have even, I forget if he won one. No, I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, Ruben. Orioles Hall of Famer by far, and the best barbecue you'll get at Oriole Park is at Book's. But the battery says, pretty sure the ball was juiced as much as the players in that era. Well, that's something. How much were the owners happy to have the viewers and happy to have the fans? I mean, Adam, is there a tinfoil hat or is that legit?
No, I think there's probably something to that. I also think about, what about pitchers from that era? Do we put the ones that were great? Like, I'm biased because I love Pedro Martinez. I collect his cards too. Do we think they're even better than? I mean, do we inflate how good they were because they pitch against those guys? Like, if they were great against those hitters, or were pitchers using it too? I mean, do you think it gives an advantage to pitchers too if they were using any type of PEDs? Probably, right? Recovery and all that.
Mike?
How do we
Think
know?
about what would Maddox's numbers look like if everybody was clean?
Right.
Or Pedro, who might be the greatest pitcher, in the last 50 years, if you really dig into the numbers. I agree with you, Adam.
Yes,
Randy
I think
Johnson, all those guys.
I mean, we can all know. I think we can all say with a high degree of certainty that Greg Maddox never used steroids,
Right.
based on his. He's not exactly, a stacked guy, but
I did get to see him in his jock strap, and he is built like an accountant.
I believe.
Yeah,
I believe it.
But that the arm from God.
Isn't it funny how one of the guys that everyone calls clean, which he probably was, Frank Thomas, now you see him in all these commercials selling testosterone. Isn't that ironic?
That is kind of funny. I think it's funny that they have Doug Flutie and Frank Thomas. It's like the shortest guy you can find and the tallest guy you can find.
Right.
I don't know about that, Ruben. He was in a jockstrap. And that's not what I want to put up. No steroids, and Griffey would stand out on how great he really was. Adam, I think that's a great point on Griffey. Talking about Griffey, do we assume he's clean, and does that make his numbers better than we give him respect for?
Everyone assumes he's clean. Yeah, I guess we have. Yeah, but that's like Mike said. It's so hard to know, right? I mean, all these guys that skated through, I guess, Griffey and Frank Thomas, Jeter, I guess we all have to assume they never used anything, even though it's hard to think. Like all these guys were doing it, and man, that's I guess if they went through without even trying anything, that says a lot about them if they didn't, But yeah, I think it does inflate Griffey how great he was if he did it clean versus all those guys who weren't doing it clean. But
how about Jim Thome?
Right.
Look what he did, assuming clean, right?
His on base percentage was also very impressive.
Yeah, he's upper echelon, really, if you think about what all he did over a very long period of time. Durable player, and then there's guys that I think get forgotten about, like Albert Bell, Juan Gonzalez. That's kind of a home pick, but Bell was a beast, right?
We got a cup of coffee with him on the Orioles.
You did,
and he had one of the greatest moments I've ever seen. Is he was hit by a pitch and tried to decline going to first base because he wanted to face the pitcher on the next pitch. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. Hit by the pitch and tried to say no, thank you.
Right.
It turns out you can't do that. You do have to go to first base.
Yeah, it was an era that was, again, pretty great. I lived through it. I loved baseball through it. It hasn't changed my view of that period of time. I don't look back at it with disdain or frustration because of knowing what I know now about the reality of it. I just enjoyed it for what it was, and it was pretty great, honestly.
It was awesome. As I look back, that was it doesn't, like, watching baseball now for me is nothing compared to back then. I mean, that baseball was so exciting back then.
Chicks dig the long ball. Remember, that was the commercial that ESPN and baseball were running. Talking about promoting it. I think this is a great comment from Vintage Oddball Cards. Talking about the Hall of Fame. It's a museum. You can't tell the story of baseball without Bonds and Clemens. If the player was Hall of Fame worthy before and after he took steroids, let him in. Bonds is a no-brainer. I could not agree more with the fact that it's a museum, and you do have to represent all parts of history. And I think people forget that there's the plaques, which is one part, and then there's the museum and the artifacts and all these things. I think what we're talking about is the plaques. A lot of these guys are represented in the artifacts, and stuff like that.
Well, this is sorry to cut you off, Danny. This is a thought about why does the Hall of Fame have to be the morality police? And to that degree, I would remove that clause out of the voting standards, because then you could let in, again, to me, it's all about the field. Kurt Schilling should be a Hall of Famer. I'm sorry. Regardless if he's a jackwagon, post-career saying things on Twitter or whatever, like, give me a break. Why does that matter at all about his worthiness of being a baseball Hall of Famer? Period, paragraph. As much as I hate things like the domestic violence cases against certain guy, Vizquel, as an example, that stuff bothers me. And I might personally choose not to vote for him because of that, but they shouldn't. It's like, I don't know. It's all of that stuff, all the post-baseball, certainly post-career, shouldn't matter at all. If here's a question, if I don't know, pick a player. If Derek Jeter started gambling on baseball now, would that be illegal? I don't know. Would he be, I don't know.
Well, the first question is, should Derek Jeter be a Hall of Famer? And that's another conversation.
Actually, Derek Jeter did bet on baseball. He bought the Marlins, so that was a pretty big bet.
Yeah,
and
now he's at Arena Club. So
right.
I don't know what direction we're heading there. Adam, if you could buy a baseball team and own it, or go to Arena Club, what do you do?
Arena Club's pretty cool, but I guess I go with the baseball team. Tough choice.
Kind of fun. It is kind of funny. Some great comments here, guys. Sorry, I can't keep up with everything. But Mike, to your point, talking about Mickey Mantle was a gambler and a drunk, kick him out if the juice players really bother you. Yeah, I mean, remember, Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle were suspended for being greeters at a casino for a period of time. And think how silly that seems now. I mean, to be a greeter at a casino, you'd have a line of people waiting for autographs, and it would be on TMZ and social media, and there would be no suspensions. There would be nothing if the players did it. Is that just an evolution in society, Mike?
I think baseball is a wonderful trip through the evolution of society. I mean, you can look back at watershed moments in baseball and how they correspond to what's going on in our country. And wow, you could get me going off the deep end here, but totally, baseball's always been a representation of society and the values that we hold.
I think baseball mirrors society. I took a class in college on baseball and American history, and the correlations and the impact they had on each other. And it's truly fascinating, and it does represent our country in a lot of ways. It was a sport started by immigrants. It was the integration of Jackie Robinson pushed a lot of things forward, not to overstate, other things. And then, there's been, quote unquote, the drug errors and the stuff we're talking about, and society mirrors that as well. So I do think it's more of a reflection of society than anything.
Well, I remember at the time too, when, especially Bonds, I remember part of the narrative was, not only is it against the rules, but it's dangerous. It's not good for you. And have you seen pictures of Barry Bonds lately? He looks great. And now you see, I read all this stuff now about human optimization and they're like recommending people take some of these things now. Obviously they're not athletes, but I get why it's against the rules, but it's not. That whole narrative, I think, is going to change even more as we look back. Who knows? There might be a time when all the athletes, they're recommending they do it once the science comes out that maybe it's actually good for you in the long run. Who knows?
What if a player, a star player today, let's take
how about the weight loss drugs?
That too. What if Ronald Acuna went up into the stands and beat the crap out of a fan like Ty Cobb did once? I mean,
it's unbelievable when you think about it.
It's like, well, wait a second, have the standards. Nobody looks back at Ty Cobb and doesn't think he should be in the Hall of Fame, because of that. Not a great look. He shouldn't have done it, all those things. But that's how we should look at it. It's like this great bit of time will heal a lot of wounds. And I think as we go further along, the steroids will become less of a barrier, I think. I hope anyway.
And this is back to, TJ. A lot of people feel this way. Bonds should never be voted into the Hall because the steroids were just to break the records. So I think a lot of people feel it was the end of his career. And I'm one of those that he was a Hall of Famer before. And, I don't keep him out on the steroids. Adam, do you judge a career before and after steroids?
Yeah, I look at, kind of like what the commenters were saying earlier too, is I think, you look at Bonds early in his career and A-Rod and Manny Ramirez, some of these guys, when they came in and they were skinny and just awesome anyway, 5-tool players or whatever, some of these guys, and then they just went to a different level. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of nuance in it. It's not an easy thing, but I always wondered, like, if you did let's say at some point they give these guys a choice and say, hey, you can get voted in, but you have the choice. If you're going to get voted in, you have an asterisk and some writing on your plaque. Do you think they would all say, all right, put me in, but with the asterisk, or do you think some of them would say, no, I don't even want to, I don't want that if that's the only way I get in? You're muted.
You're muted, Danny.
I just gave away the secret to peace and happiness in the world. Sorry.
Man.
I think that most of the guys would turn it down. I don't think they want to be associated with it. I think that's why a lot of them publicly have gone very quiet. To be honest with you, not a lot of these guys have, some of them, but not a lot of them have a huge presence in the public.
It's weird the timing of all this too. You look at guys that had great careers and they've kind of stayed on the ballot, right? A-Rod, Sheffield, even Manny Ramirez, a guy like Rafael Palmeiro, who you could argue had a better career than all those guys, dropped off after the first year just because of when he came on the ballot, and the pissiness of the writers at the time. Palmeiro is good. He's the only guy with 3,000 hits and 500 home runs not in the Hall of Fame, not named A-Rod, or Albert Pujols, guys that aren't really there yet. So
I wanted to drop this in real quick because this is the bottom. The guys in red are the ones that are on track to possibly drop off. And if you look above that, a couple other guys. Do any of these guys bother you that they're going to drop off completely? And I would say David Wright is close to dropping off also. Like Mike said, a lot of these guys go down a little bit. Anybody on there surprise you or bother you?
I can't read the list. Read it off.
Okay, sorry about that. Torrey Hunter, Jose Bautista, Victor Martinez, Matt Holliday, Bartolo Colon, James Shields, Jose Reyes, Brandon Phillips, Adrian Gonzalez.
All good players, no question.
But you're fine if they're going off the first ballot.
Yeah, none of those. Maybe Torrey Hunter would be the only one I would argue against, but that would be it. And that's not a strong argument.
Adam, you're good if they're all going on the first
ballot.
Ballot.
Get rid of them. Get them out of there. Let's make some room for some steroid guys.
Right. Mike Petty says that Mike Moynihan needs a Palmeiro bobblehead with the wagging finger.
Yeah, I do.
Victor Martinez numbers are equal to Maurer. Well, there you go. And Victor's about to, he was one of the ones I think is about to fall off. And Maurer is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
B-Mart.
Yeah.
He was great. He was a really good. For me, it's like I always look at when it's kind of a toss-up or whatever. I look at like who at their peak, who was like the best. And Maurer reached way higher levels, I would say. When he didn't sustain it, but he, all things being equal, I would say, put him in way over Victor.
Do either one of you guys actually know the answer on this? I don't believe they do, but they do not. Hall of Famers, it's strictly the baseball writers. Right?
Only Hall of Famers get to vote only if they're included on an era committee.
Which is also could be a mixed group of writers and players, correct?
Writers, players, owners.
Yep.
Baseball collectors need to be on that. I need to be on an era committee.
Oh, so cool. Wouldn't that be?
Oh my gosh. If we had a collector, I don't care who it is. If we had a representative from the collector world on an era committee, that would be life. I would be just like, oh my gosh.
Bo says, my prediction, Beltray, Maurer, and Helton.
Yep. That'd be a good class, actually.
Would it be?
Yeah. Beltray is just the headliner, so.
Well, that's what I'm saying. After Beltray, I could see Beltray being a one-man class. That wouldn't bother me.
It could happen.
I'm not a huge Maurer guy, as we've mentioned.
I got to run, but I'm going to let you guys do a duo show for the rest of the time. But
we appreciate it. Go get your votes in.
Go get my votes in.
Yep. All right, buddy. See you later.
See you guys. Bye.
See you.
Here's one for you. Maurer caught 170 less games than Buster Posey. I think people forget that Maurer had to leave the catcher and move to first base and DH because of concussions.
Right.
Does that affect the way you look at him?
No, it doesn't. I still think he's a Hall of Famer. Buster Posey, when's he going to be on the ballot? Coming up?
A couple years.
I would say. See, I know this doesn't. I don't know. I'm not the biggest Hall of Fame guy. I enjoy it and everything, but as far as like all the criteria and rules and everything, I just think I look also at winning too. And Buster Posey, that run with the Giants and everything, with the World Series, and even if maybe some of his career stats don't stack up, whatever, I put a big emphasis on being part of winning teams and winning World Series, even though it's a team sport. I just do.
Mike Petty makes a quote talking about Buster Posey, the collision at the plate, changing the rules forever. He will get known for that, I think, the Posey rule. When he got the concussion, and I think that helped change the rules for collisions at the plate. Yep. So it's just interesting there. All right. Any more Hall of Fame content, or have we pretty much worn that one out? Anything else?
I'm good with the Hall of Fame.
Then I really want to show and get people's comments, and I know they've seen it before, but Top Series 1 coming out, new design. Your thoughts, Adam?
I like it. I think it looks really good. It's different. What would you call the lettering, like vintage
the neon boardwalk signs?
Yeah. I kind of like it. I think it looks really cool. Just like, first impressions, I like it. I think it's different. So sometimes different's good.
Peter B likes it. Philly Joe loves it. Mike Petty, it's a pretty nice card. That's a big compliment. Mad City Brew, I like the new look. I think it's got that very classic Topps look to it, but the neon, team sign gives it that 1 year kind of look to it.
Right.
Where you'll always remember the neon sign. It has an 86 design. Sort of. I'm not sure about that. Now this Orlando's got a good point. The neon border is nice, like the 72 marquee cards. Yeah. I mean, if you notice, it's the American flag in the background.
Yes.
Dylan loves it. Steven loves it. Well,
Wow.
there goes all the controversy.
It's a win.
I thought we might have some. Here we go.
Here we
The neon is horrible. Thank you for speaking up. Vintage card collector. I don't collect any ultra modern, but like the design. It looks like Miami Vice. Yes, thank you. That
Yep.
was the South Florida. Absolutely.
That's it.
Do you buy any modern ceremonially or collect it at all?
No, not right now. The most modern stuff I was buying was I collect Tom Brady, so you know, since he retired, my last cards are like 2022, 2021 stuff. So I might change. I always pivot in the hobby, but right now I'm collecting mostly vintage 90s stuff. Those are like my two eras right now that I'm collecting heavy on. So yeah, I don't really buy too much of the ultra modern stuff, but I think it looks really nice.
I have a tradition. I won't buy one card though. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you, Mike. I do have a tradition of buying one pack of Top Series one every year. You know, it's just something about opening it every year. It's the Topps flagship. Not looking for a hit, not expecting to get anything. I know I'm going to throw away my money, but it's kind of like opening day for me, you know,
Right.
of the card season. Do you have times on the calendar that you feel more connected to the hobby? Is it around the national? Is it?
Yeah, for sure. I would say like spring training, for whatever reason, spring training, I start to just feel it. And then, yeah, around the national time, it's just I get even more into it. I'm kind of into it full like year round, but yeah, it definitely goes up a notch during, I would say, yeah, spring training and the national time. Yep. Even when I can't go to the national, I still feel it.
This is a great comment. I can read the name on the card. Us old farts appreciate that.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about it, but that's an excellent point. Other than modern Allen and Ginter, I only buy cards older than 1979. Fair enough. I buy tops and open packs for opening day. Yes, that's a great idea. Opening day of the season. It's cool. You know something I do also when I have a meeting with somebody in the hobby, the first time if we do a face-to-face, I buy 2 packs. And over lunch, we just open the packs and go through it. It doesn't matter what it is, something cheap. But opening packs with friends, I think is one of the best things in the hobby.
Absolutely. You know, you're right. And that's cool. And I was thinking that, right? Because I went into one of my local card shops here a couple weeks ago, and it's a really nice card shop. But the days of like when we were kids, it was packs. You go in, you could buy a pack, and it's like you go in now, and you got to either buy the full box or they don't have it, or the packs they have were from maybe sets that you're not really interested in or years back. But because of I think the whole breaking thing and just the way it is now, I don't know if kids are opening packs as like we used to, which I think makes a difference because it's tangible. You know, it's something you can afford and you can go and just like when you enter a break. I don't know. Does that leave as much of an impression on you as like when we were kids, we'd go to the store and buy a pack? I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, here's Orlando. This might be the comment of the day. I'm at the card shop now.
Nice.
That's fantastic, Orlando. Watching Hobby Hotline in the card shop is pretty much covering all your bases. Which reminds me, we should give a shout out to the shop at Moco, the sports shop, card shop, Rex and the whole family over there. Thanks for their support. I don't know if they're open with the weather right now, but they usually throw us up on the big screen. So hello to everybody at the shop. Orlando, what are you buying? We all want to know. What are you looking at? You've got some sick stuff. So if you're shopping, we want to know. Following up on what you were saying before, hard to buy packs and boxes anymore because they're considered loaded for the breakers. Orlando says just did a live stream of the grand opening. Crazy busy. Are you at double A? Is that Orlando? Let me know if you're at double A.
He is. You know what? I saw that one of my notifications for Orlando. He's at double A. Yep.
Yeah. Now I want to. That's not far from a bunch of my family, and so when I go down there, I'm looking forward to. It's supposed to be fantastic. Kudos for Orlando. He knows how to live. Burger, card shop, and a walk before I wake up. Watching from the women's husky department at JCPenney. That's hysterical. Double A mint cards. Yes. Thanks, Orlando. Orlando is signing today. Yes, he's part of the opening. Buying the
Orlando's doing it right. Orlando's living the right way. He does his videos. He's walking 5 miles in the morning, sunny Florida. I hope I can be like that in, a couple decades down the road. I'm not as healthy as Orlando is now, but that's an inspiration.
It's an inspiration. I don't know if I'll ever be half as healthy as Orlando, but
right.
Okay, if you could take the card collection or the 5 mile walk every morning, which one are you taking?
Well, he's got a nice collection. Yeah,
I know.
I guess I'll go with collection, but yeah,
it's amazing what we would give up for a good collection.
Yeah.
There was a study done that I think 90% of Olympic athletes say they would take steroids if it guaranteed a gold medal. So, Miami, nice. That's both the card and Orlando, I guess. All right, Adam. So, what have you been doing hobby recently? Mail, anything?
Well, I did bring one of my latest pickups. So one of the things, this is a lifelong goal, collecting. Trying to collect every Tom Brady base card rookie. He's got 43 total. And not today, but I have this, which came in recently. The 2000 Flair Mystique Tom Brady rookie. Cool. I'm up to 8 now. I got 8 of his rookies, and a long way to go. And there's some huge ones that maybe my kids will have to finish it someday, but that's one of my lifelong goals, to get every single base rookie of his. So I picked that one up here recently.
Are you a registry guy?
Yeah, I do. There's a registry for all his rookie cards. So I started doing that. Yeah. And I do, I got the Mickey Mantle basic run on the registry, and the Larry Bird basic set. So I do probably 10 sets on there. I like ones that are achievable. There's ones like master sets where there's 800, 900 cards, and it's just, I don't know. There's something about that. I don't even want to start it because I know I'll never get close to finishing it. So I try to do the ones that I'll have at least a shot at finishing.
Well, here, you can take Peter's advice. He says, geez, I liked it when a player had one rookie.
Yeah. It's funny. 43 is a lot right now compared to what's these Justin Herberts and all these guys now.
Well, I actually did and I have it over there. I can't really see it. The Greg Maddux rookie run.
Oh, nice.
4 cards. It's fantastic. And my ranking in the registry is pretty good. So all my pride is on 4 worthless cards. And then just talking about different ways of collecting, and I know I've pointed this out to some people before. The Orioles moved to Baltimore in 1954. 54 tops team set.
Wow. That looks awesome.
Do you have a connection with a team or a year or something that you would ever go after a set or a run?
Yeah, I mean, 04 Red Sox,
doing, of course.
04 Red Sox would be, that would be cool to maybe try to get, I don't know, maybe every guy's rookie card or every guy's certain card from that year. But yeah, that's probably one of the teams that resonates with me. Generally, I'm just like a player collector. So I don't really do much right now with anything other than that. So I'm pretty heavy into the players that I collect and just going for as many cards as I can of theirs.
Do you go to a lot of shows?
No. I would like to, and I hope to in the future. But the National I went to last year, that was the first major show I've ever been to in my life.
That's
so
unbelievable.
I kicked it off with a big one.
So, or you're online mostly?
Mostly online. Yep. That's
What works for you? What sites do you? Because I'm curious for myself always.
mostly eBay. I've done a little PWCC in the past, but mostly eBay, and I like my slabs too. I've bought a bunch of cards
Yeah,
off of my slabs. Yep, and
I think
not my,
that
here and
I
there
think
with
they're a
auction.
sleeper. I think they're a
Yeah,
sleeper. By the way, my slabs.
I love my slabs.
I'm not endorsed by them. They're
Me
not a
either.
sponsor of mine. But I think it's a good site.
Yep.
Um,
And you can a lot of times there'll be the card listed on eBay and my slabs, and it's the same exact one, and it's just less money on my slabs. So go there.
Tom Brady card, big news this week. Uh, that it was photoshopped. By the way, most cards are photoshopped. The Fletcher card looks more like Brady than the fake photo. That's funny. Um, my slabs are sleeper, Danny. I agree. Um, True Mike talking about the Fletcher card as hysterical. Um, what did you think of that? Did that bother you at all? Was that a story or a non-story for you? Because I felt it was a little bit of a non-story.
Yeah, that was a non-story. I mean, I saw a bunch of stuff come out about, people who've been in the hobby for a long time. Like you said, it's, the Griffey Upper Deck 89 card was photoshopped or not, or whatever they use. But it's been done a lot. So maybe it was just from some of the newer people that don't know a lot about the history of the cards that got upset about that. I don't know. I don't think it's much of a big deal at all.
Well, Bob says he's going to Photoshop his face on my pictures. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but um, if you're better looking than me, go for it. Um, I like my slabs, but can never find a thing. About 2 cards in 2 years, and I like the site. Yes, more people should be on there. List your cards, buy your cards. Collecting for ranking. That is not collecting cards, in my opinion. Well, that's a registry. That's a registry thing. And the Greg Maddux rookies, $40 to $50 a card. I'm happy to have a little fun on that, for that. I don't think that hurts.
Yeah, and
I
I'm not doing
yeah.
the ones I do. I don't do to try to. I don't really even care where I rank. It's just more of like a fun game. It's just like a gamification of collecting. It's got a nice checklist, and you can see it update. It's you don't get anything for it, so it just makes it a little more fun for me. It's not for everyone.
And this, what do you think of this? I have a problem with how they weight some of the cards in the registry. The PSA has no clue on that.
Rick, you're right, man. The PSA, I think I would love to see them put a little more resources into the registry, because it is, whether it's not for you or it is, it's a big thing for them. And yeah, some of the sets that I do, I don't agree with how they weight the cards, or like some of them I do, they're all weighted the same, even though some cards are way tougher than others. I know Rick did a video pretty recently on his channel about, I think it was certain Babe Ruth cards, how they're way off as far as which ones are tougher, and they have them weighted the wrong way. So yeah, it's definitely not perfect, but they're the only one that has it, really. So they don't. I wish one of these other companies would challenge them a little bit, make them work a little harder.
Great comments we're getting on using the registry as a checklist. I know some people also use it as for inventory. I've definitely used it as a checklist. Do you use it as a resource, or where do you keep an inventory of your cards on any of these sites? Or is
Yeah,
it
I
spread
do.
out?
I do on the registry. I use it for there's other uses for it too. It's not it's not just for competing on rankings and grading. I don't buy cards now based on the grade, really. I just look for the eye appeal I want, and like some of these Tom Brady rookies, I just want to find ones that are in my price range. So whether it's a PSA 9 or a 7, I just want the card. So yeah, I think it's how you use it. But yeah, there's a lot of cool things within the registry, and I think they're hopefully going to be improving it too with more resources. So yeah, it's not for everyone though. I understand.
Well, and Mark makes a comment here, and I want to answer. He says, if you're beholden to the registry, how many times does it make you buy cards you'd never actually buy otherwise? I think that's a fair comment, because if you're trying to fill out, I think, but I also think it gives you a goal to collect. It just gives you a different way to hobby. I've
Some
learned
people need the focus, right? Like some people, it helps them enjoy the hobby more. And yeah, if you are buying cards only for it, well, look, you're in control. It's your money, so
more.
it's your money. You work for that money, so spend it however the heck you want. That's the way I look at it. I don't judge other people based on how they collect.
I collect Koufax. I'm never going to do the master registry. I know that, but it gives me a checklist. It gives me a place. The basic run. It was a good way to see. A lot of the cards before I bought them. So I think what you said is exactly correct. Use it how you want. And you don't have to use it just for competing. I think that got out of control.
But yeah, I don't buy cards that I don't like just because it will be in the registry. So if you're doing that, then yeah, I think that's probably a fair point. That's maybe not the best thing to do. Don't buy cards you don't like.
Yes. All right. And getting off the registry, um, how do you kind of focus your collecting? Do you just stick to the things you were talking about before, those sets, or do you buy random stuff?
There was I got a little too random for myself. I need focus because I don't have the best self-control with this thing. I love a lot of cards. So I create like artificial rules for myself. One of the rules that I created was I love collecting the all-time greats in vintage baseball. But I found myself going like, ooh, 52 Bowman Stan Musial. I want that. And finally I said, look, I gotta narrow myself down to just four per player. And that's it. Four playing years cards. So I sold some cards off, and now basically, yeah, I'm just trying to get like my four favorite Hank Aaron cards, my four favorite Willie Mays, Stan Musial, all the legends that I want to have cards of. Before I was a little not focused, so now I've created these rules for myself, and the registry can help you with that, right? It could kind of narrow your focus a little bit if you need that. Some people don't need it or don't want it. I do need it and I do want it. So yeah, I mainly collect, Tom Brady, Larry Bird, Pedro Martinez, Mickey Mantle, and then some vintage baseball legends and some vintage basketball legends. But yeah, I had to create these rules because a couple of years back, I found myself like just buying too many cards that didn't really fit the lane I wanted to go in because there's so many great cards out there.
I had a great conversation with somebody the other day. Do you have any problems selling some of your cards that to reinvest into other cards in your collection, or do you just hold on to whatever you have because you're going to love it, just having it?
Yeah, at first it was hard. I had never until January 2021. I had never sold a card in my entire life, and then I sold a card, and then I started looking at the collection, and I said, let's find some lanes, some focus, and yeah, I started selling some cards. I've sold some cards that I love, but I like the cards I have now better. I sold
Right.
the 52 Bowman Stan Musial I had that I mentioned. I sold that one, and it was a high grade. And I sold it, and I bought a lot of cards that are lower grade for certain players that look great. And I got more cards for selling that one card, so I'm okay. Yeah, I don't mind selling cards. I don't love selling cards, but I know I have to. You have to at some point, make room for new cards. And I've pretty much maxed out the amount of money that I want to put into my collection right now. So if I'm getting anything new, it's got to come from me selling cards. So
Every, also, save a few bucks buying great cards in SGC slabs. I buy both, just because I do the PSA registry. I mean, we all wish there was some sort of universal registry, but I buy the card. Um, I'm not beholden necessarily to PSA, but I will say everything. I'm not a Beckett person, so 99% of my graded cards are between PSA and SGC. Are you a PSA only guy?
no, I have SGC. I have one from almost every major. I have a tag card. I have a CGC. I got some Beckett. But yeah, for certain runs, I like to keep it consistent. So,
Yeah.
if I'm collecting all these Tom Brady rookies, I want them all in PSA slabs. But I do something too where I have a bunch of memorabilia relic cards, and I do them all in SGC. I kind of like the way they look in the SGC holder compared to other cards. The thicker cards I like in the SGC holder. So I said, that's going to be my lane for SGC. I like that company. I want to use them when I can. So I send my memorabilia cards over to them, and everything else if I submit, I send to PSA or SGC. I don't submit to those other companies.
That's interesting. Yeah, no, I don't submit as much as I like buying graded. Mainly because I hate the process of submitting. I do it when I have to, or when I do it for clients. But I don't mind having an ugly back on a card, so the number doesn't bother me. So I don't mind, buying a 1 or a 2 if it's already graded, so I don't have to worry about it being fake, or I just have that kind of authenticity guarantee, and I'll take a low grade on a beautiful card.
Oh,
I
yeah.
my 33 Mo Berg, it's got a stamp of a rooster on the back. I call it the rare chicken back version. But it's a 1, but the front, if you look at the front, it's a 3 or a 4. So that's an SGC, like crazy. I cannot keep up with the comments. It's time to let Watson from IBM do the Hall of Fame voting, get rid of the human vote. Well, don't they use the shredder? Isn't that what on MLB baseball? We got to use the shredder. TJ says, hard to be a BVG, BGS person with the quality of grades given. Very hit and miss in terms of accuracy. That's an interesting comment. I don't know if I've ever heard them being more all over the board than the other companies, because I think they're all kind of over the board. What do you have?
The issue I have with BVG or BGS slabs is they cloud the card too much. The inner sleeve that they put in there, I know it's good for protection of the card, but I want a clear view of my cards. The card is the main thing. So that's the only issue I have with that. That's why I like PSA a little more, is because you can see the card better. The inner sleeve, I got so many where it's like, it's a shiny card and it doesn't shine as much because of the inner sleeve. I mean, I don't know. That's just my take on it.
Well, I've heard from several companies, including PSA, that they're trying to redesign the inner part of the slab to get rid of the sleeve and still keep it protected. Because there are times, especially with smaller cards, where you get that fog from the bag,
Right.
almost around the card.
Yep.
And so I hope they find a way to protect the card and without the bag, or make the bag, clear in a way that we don't see it.
And I think that's an area where these grading companies, if they want to thrive long term, they got to realize why people are sending them their cards. Yes, there's a lot of people who send to these companies to increase the value and flip the cards and sell them, and they don't care how they look. It's a money thing. But there's a ton of people who submit cards to these companies, and more that would if these companies put a little more thought into the presentation of the end collectible, which is the look of the label, the slab, how clear is it? There's a growing audience that I think would even submit more cards or submit cards if they like the way they look better in these graded cases. And I don't think these companies are putting enough focus on that.
Couldn't agree more with you, by the way. TJ says, I've been unsuccessful cross grading BVG into PSA. Cross grading is tough. I'll admit I've tried to do it before because I want all my cards in a certain slab, and typically I don't get the grade from the first company into the second company. But that's where you have to love the card.
Right. Exactly.
Do you ever cross over?
Yeah, well, I learned my lesson. Yes, to your point, when you send the card in the other company's slab to the other company, it's not going to go your way. And part of it, I think, is because how could you actually evaluate the card when it's in the slab? Like, can you really look at the surface that well enough to know, is it going to be a 9 or a 10 with our company too? So I think they err on the side of caution. But yeah, that's why so many people crack it out and send it over. I do a bunch of that. I crack out and send over, if I want to get it in a certain company holder. But to your point, you're better off doing it with cards where you still want the card no matter what the grade comes back as.
Do you have better luck when you crack than send it in a slab for the crossover?
Yeah, yeah, and I've heard pretty
Oh,
much that's yeah.
I have okay. So my Kofax rookie is SGC, and it's the only non-PSA Kofax I have, and it didn't cross over well, so I still have it in SGC slab. Um, I've never cracked a card. I'm not going to start with the Kofax,
No.
but hearing you say that really gets the wheels going.
Yeah, that's pretty much from everything I've heard that you're going to probably get a fairer assessment, at least if you send it in after you've cracked it out. If you send it in, I guess, I don't know why, maybe it's the human bias or whatever when they see the other company's name on that card. I don't know, but that's just kind of the way it goes, I guess.
All right, we're on the home stretch here. Stu says I get a lot of oddball stuff authenticated, so people don't think I make up stuff about the card. That's a fair comment. That's part of why I like to buy it. Mad City, great show. Everyone safe and happy Saturday. Stay warm. -9 in Madison, Wisconsin.
Wow.
All right. Well, as we say goodbye, give me your temperatures, and we'll throw them out. What do you have planned hobby-wise coming up or sports-wise? Is it a football weekend?
Big football weekend. Yeah, the game I'm the most excited about is the Bills and Chiefs game. I think that's going to be just a all-time great game. So I'm really pumped for that one. Let's go Bills.
Well, let's go Ravens. I'll see you
Yeah.
in the championship game.
Yep.
I got to throw this out there real quick because I don't want you to miss out. Pedro is my nemesis. He refused to sign cards for me and my two boys back when he was playing in the Dodgers AAA. Said I was just going to sell them.
He is a nice guy. I can't believe he would do that.
It was probably Ramon. 75 degrees Orlando. Oh, gosh. 20 degrees. I think that's most of the country. All right. So I do want to show one thing off because I don't get a ton in the mail, but I picked up this Topps coin for Kofax,
Ooh, nice.
and it's actually in decent condition. $9.
Whoa, $9. That's it?
That's it.
Good job.
So I'm proud of that.
That's awesome.
18 degrees for Mark Hoyle. 54 and raining, Ventura, California. 19 degrees. Oh gosh, it is I think you want to do another hour and keep everybody warm, or you ready to go?
I got to go, but I would like to go another hour. This is fun.
All right, Stu, thanks for the nice coin pickup. I think on that, we're going to kind of wrap it up here. I had a blast. I want to thank Mike for jumping on for part of the show. Dude, you're the best to do a show with. Absolutely a pleasure. Thank you very much for putting up with me and all my random questions all day.
Thank you, Danny. This was fun. I always love coming on with you here. So everyone has a good weekend.
Absolutely. Keep collecting, have fun. And every Saturday, Hobby Hotline. This is 285 already. So next Saturday, I forget who's hosting, but follow it on social media, Hobby Hotline. Everything's posted there. Take care.